This is Dollar Bin Darts. You know the rules. 3 random record pulls, 3 dart throws that determine the samples from each of the records. I gotta put all that together and make a beat. I'm gonna do something a little bit different this time around when it comes to talking about the records that I randomly pulled. I think it's a little more important to actually talk about the people behind the records and the artists themselves in an era where you can basically create anything with AI and rip other people's intellectual property off. I just think it's important to talk through who these actual artists were, the time they took to record something and put it on wax and put something out into the world of their own making. And yeah, I just think if that's not what you want to listen to, then that's fine. You can skip past this first part, but I just think it's important for myself. I need to give the props to the people that sat down and made the music, right? So all that being said, the first record that I pulled randomly was Edith Piaf at Carnegie Hall, January 13th, 1957. This was released in 1977, but as the title of the record implies, it was recorded live at Carnegie Hall in 1957. It's listed as a pop record. It honestly sounds a little bit more like vocal or classic, kind of classical. Maybe that's what pop was in 1957. So Edith Piaf has a pretty insane and tragic life story. Her dad was a street performer. Her mom was also a street performer. Her dad's mother was a prostitute that had a brothel. Her dad went off to the war in 1916, World War I, and she ended up being raised in a brothel by a bunch of prostitutes. She was one of the biggest acts in France, but got addicted to morphine, got addicted to alcohol, and ended up dying in 1963. She was only 4 foot 8 inches tall, but you'll hear her voice. It's very powerful, very haunting. The next random album that I have to use is Dionne by Dionne Warwick, released in 1972. I'm sure most people watching, especially if you're a hip-hop fan, are familiar with Dionne Warwick, but if you're not, she's a living legend. She's basically in every Hall of Fame you can think of: Grammy Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. This is her first album after leaving Scepter Records. This is on Warner Brothers. I'm not exactly sure what happened. It was one of her, I guess, lowest charting albums at the time, but it has production by Bob James and Burt Bacharach, so the songs on it are good. There's a lot of material to work with here. It's funny because the record sleeve and the record itself both misspelled Dionne Warwick's last name. They add an E, so I don't know if it was just the label like not giving her the respect she deserved or what, but this is a great album. It has one of my favorite all-time samples on it from one of my favorite all-time producers. That's all I'm going to say, but yeah, sick album. This will definitely be one of those that I revisit after kind of shooting this and making the Dollar Bin Darts beat. Next and last record from this group is Paradise with an Ocean View by Country Joe McDonald, released in 1981. This is basically a country rock record. It kind of has some slower jams on it, but it's essentially country / folk rock. Country Joe McDonald is also sort of a legend, maybe not so much in the hip-hop hemisphere and maybe not as well known, but he was part of the group Country Joe and the Fish, which is a really influential psychedelic rock band. He played at Woodstock, he played at Monterey Festival, he dated Janis Joplin, I think. So yeah, he's been around for a long time, and I think he still writes music more in the spirit of like Woody Guthrie, where it's just solo kind of singer-songwriter stuff. Again, legend, and definitely worth a look back onto his discography if you ever can find some. All right, on to the first dart throws. The first one that I did was for Country Joe McDonald. I looked at the liner notes. I saw that there was basically every instrument possible on this album. So I figured no matter where I hit on the dartboard, it would be fine. I could use something. And I did end up hitting anything, which means, yeah, I can pull anything from it. The next dart throw was Edith Piaf. The only one I was trying to actively avoid here with my throw was drums. It's a live recording, so in 1957, I kind of had no clue what the drums were going to be like, or if there even was going to be quality drums to pull from. So yeah, I ended up hitting melody, which means this needs to be the main part of the beat. Last dart throw here is Dionne Warwick. I left her for last because I thought that she would be the most versatile. No matter what I had kind of as the last chance dart, it would be fine. I ended up hitting bass, and since this is a soul kind of funk record, I think I'm going to be just fine. So first things first, since I didn't hit the drum slice on the dartboard, that means that I can kind of use my own drums, and that's where I want to start. So I took the Empire Breaks complete contact instrument, and I just searched through a little bit, found some sounds I liked, and laid down a really quick, very basic drum beat at 80 BPM. And I think that's where I'm going to start and build everything else around that spine, essentially. On first listen of the Edith Piaf record, I started with Lovers for a Day. I thought that the piano in this song could work. It was giving a lot more of like a lo-fi vibe, and it was kind of waltzy in a way. It was that 1 2 3 1 2 3 type of beat.
Shine another glass and make the house.
I thought maybe chopping it up might do something cool, so I tried that at first. Didn't really end up loving it. So I went on to a few more songs on the album and chopped those up too. The next one I chopped up was a song called It's in Hamburg, all French. I thought, again, maybe this could be used as like a really laid-back, lo-fi tune. Didn't really like it again as soon as I chopped it and heard it with the drums. So the next song I moved on to was Autumn Leaves, and I thought the vocals at the very, very beginning would make for a good kind of sound. So I chopped those up, but I listened to the rest of the song, and I heard this, I don't know exactly what comes in, but it's like high-pitched strings, and I looped that, and that's really what I decided I was going to use as the basis for the rest of the whole record. It just had a much better fit with the drums I chose, the tempo. So that was my decision. At that point, I was going to go with Autumn Leaves and then make that work. So after getting that kind of arranged how I wanted it, the plugins that I used were a Chord Presser to just kind of flatten the sound, make sure it was all a little bit more uniform since it was mono and live. The levels were a little bit all over the place. Then I put a black box saturator on it just to sort of bring out more of the harmonics in it. After that, I added a Kive tape phase that added a little more detail, a little more warmth to the whole thing. And then lastly, again, because it was in mono, I added an ozone imager and spread it out over more of a stereo field. I think it just gave a little more depth and kind of made more room for the other elements later on in the mix. After I had my main sample kind of taken care of, or at least the main idea sketched out, I wanted to move on to the Dionne Warwick record and make sure to get bass that fit. So after listening through, there were quite a few songs actually that I thought I could use the bass from. Ultimately, the one I ended up choosing was First Night Alone Without You.
Half of me is gone away, gone the love I've learned to cling to. Tomorrow I'll have
this whole record is honestly sample gold. So if you wanted recommendations for which records to pick up out of the three, this would be the one. I'm going to revisit it after this is all said and done. Going back to the bass, I found the bass part that I wanted. It was within the first minute or so. And what I did was I took that bass part, chopped it up, and then just completely filtered out all of the highs within the Native Instruments sampler first. So I cut out about anything above 200 hertz. And then what I did was I took Three Body Technologies Kirchhoff EQ and cut off everything below about 140 hertz and added a little bump to about 89 hertz just to give a little more body to the bass, but still cut off all of the frequencies above that. Then I added a supercharger GT, which is a Native Instruments compressor, just to fatten up the bass a little bit and again make it a little more uniform in terms of volume. And lastly, I added a Brainworks BX Solo and made the bass completely mono, so it was only coming through the middle. Again, just to give the main part of the vocals more room on the stereo side of things and have that bass coming straight up the middle. The nice thing about the bass part was I didn't even feel like I had to change the tune or the pitch at all. I just chopped it up and it sounds to me like it fits. I'm not exactly 100% sure if it's the same key, but to me it sounds good, so I'm just going to leave it. At this point, to me, the beat is basically finished, but I do need to use something from Country Joe. So I took this little tiny part at the very end of the last song, Breakfast for Two. You got me and I got you. It's just the end note of the entire record and it has a big, long tail on it. So I took that little chop and made it almost like part of a call and response of the verses. So the Edith Piaf sample comes in and then you can kind of hear this little Country Joe sample in the background. And to me, it makes it a little bit darker almost and gives it a little bit of flavor, a little bit of change up in the verse itself. And the only plugin that I used on this group was Replica XT, Native Instruments delay plugin. I pretty much use this as my standard delay. I just know how to use it. I like how it's laid out and it makes it simple for me to do what I want to do with delay. The only other thing I did was tune it up about 10 semitones just to make it fit the track itself and just what I was looking for from the specific sound. And then I also messed around a little bit with the amplitude envelope just to have it be decaying kind of where I wanted it to. So lastly, I just took all of these elements, made some variations within the verse and the chorus and added a few, hi-hats here and crashes there and rides there just to have some transitions between certain parts of the song, parts of the beat. And that's it for this episode. So I'll have the beat playing kind of as the outro goes, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. I know this is a little bit longer than my normal videos, but like I said, I wanted to give praise to the actual artist who took the time to put something on wax and put it out in the world. And if somebody else discarded that into a bargain bin, I want to dig that up and bring some shine to those people because I think that there's gold to be found there. So again, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, comment, find me on Instagram, find me everywhere else, and hope to see you next time. Thanks so much.
the day. To fall.